Hi, everybody, and welcome to the American Vandal FYC event. I'm Marcia Clark. And I have to tell you, I'm thrilled to be moderating tonight's panel with the cast and creative of this wonderful series. I am myself a fangirl. Let me tell you, the reason that they asked me to moderate tonight's panel is in January, I appeared at the TCAs for my own show, and they asked me, what are you binging? What's your favorite show? And I said, the one with the dicks, AKA American Vandal. But I'm not the only one who's such a big fan of this show. Fans and critics alike have said that this show is the best, or one of the very best of 2017. That's what I certainly think. But before we get into it, we have a special message for everyone here in the room, so let's take a look.
Hey guys, sorry we couldn't make the panel. We're up here in Portland filming American Vandal Season 2 where the weather is, great. So much better than California, sunny California, where you guys are probably dry and warm, but screw that, because we're out here having fun. So, Marcia Clark, I see you. Thank you guys for being on our panel, and we hope to see you guys soon, so. Yeah, enjoy being dry. Let's get inside.
All right, without further ado, let's bring out our panelists. First, please welcome co-creator Dan Perrault. And next, our known dick drawer, Dylan Maxwell. Please welcome Jimmy Tatro. She plays Dylan's on-again, off-again girlfriend, the popular online gamer, Mackenzie Wagner. Please welcome Camille Ramsey. And next, he played Alex Trimboli, who claimed he saw Dylan spray paint the dicks. The eyewitness, if you will. And he also may or may not have gotten a hand job from Sarah Pearson. Welcome, Callum Rorty. And he plays Lucas Wiley, one of the Wayback Boys, and Dylan's best friend. Please welcome Lou Wilson. You'll recognize him from the oeuvre of nuns humping trees.
Yes.
Okay, so I want you to know, just to give you a little background on how well this show has really done. The first trailer for American Vandal dropped in the summer of last year, and it quickly racked up over 45 million views. Yeah, no one really knew what it was about, except to wonder, who really drew the dicks, which was a very pressing question. Since then, the series dropped in September, and by the end of 2017, the show had recruited an army of critics and fans everywhere, becoming the most binge-watched show of Netflix in 2017. Quite an accomplishment, an amazing accomplishment. I mean, this show is just laugh out loud hilarious. You know something? I love watching funny things, but seldom does anything make me laugh out loud. Mm-hmm. You made me laugh out loud, you guys, like over and over again until I cried and slapping it was just, I digress. But it's also, I thought it was technically impressive the way you made the students' narrative. You constructed it with the text, Snapchat, Instagrams, so authentic looking. Mm-hmm. And the way kids really do kind of document their own lives, which gave it such a realness to it. Mm-hmm. But I also appreciated the way you carried through on the dick theme with the episode titles. The episode titles, I don't know if you noticed this, Premature Theories, Hard Facts, Limp Alibi, Climax, followed, of course, by Cleanup. Yeah, so much to love here. So, Dan, first of all, tell me, I want to know what your elevator pitch was. Like, what was it like pitching this show?
Well, the elevator pitch, I guess, would be it's Making Murder with Dicks, and that just got us the show right there. That's all we need to say. Well, Tony and I were super fans of Making Murder and The Jinx and Serial. Those were our three favorite. And so the whole time, we didn't want to make a parody that was just making fun of these shows. We wanted to use that structure to tell a unique, funny high school story. So the first thing that we said was just like, yeah, this is not going to be a goofy 4-hour dick jokes everywhere sort of thing where that's the only point of the show. We want to do something that actually feels true to the docs that we're, inspired from, and just use that structure to tell the story we want to tell.
And you did it really well. I mean, from the style of the narrator and your documentarian all the way through to the way the kids did their parts, it was amazingly true to the genre.
Yes. I don't know what Sarah Koenig thinks of us. I hope she likes it. She probably hates it, but but yeah, I mean, we owe thanks for a lot of these documentarians who have made this a huge thing and a huge resurgence in the last few years. We've had a lot of great docs, real docs in the last 3 years between The Jinx, Serial, Making a Murderer, and they keep coming. Amanda Knox, confession tapes, like it's a continually growing genre that doesn't seem to be going anywhere.
So why do you think that is? I mean, I'm curious myself. Of course, I've been a crime fan all my life.
Yeah.
But I'm crazy, so.
Yeah, what started that, I wonder?
No, I mean, really, when I was 4 years old. So, yeah, it wasn't him, so.
Well, I think we've been very lucky in the last few years to have not just great documentaries, but really great documentarians, because I think that's really where the core of Serial being so addicting comes from, is that Sarah Koenig is, she's talking about cell phone call records, and ordinarily that's boring, and
really?
She makes it feel so engaging because she wants to get to the bottom of this crime in the same way that Andrew Jarecki from The Jinx does, and a lot of these documentarians do. And so when we were trying to replicate that success as much as possible with Vandal, we knew that's where we needed to start, is we need a documentarian who's into this world, who is just so invested in the crime, in this case, the dick crime. And for us, that was Peter, and Tyler Alvarez just killed it.
Yeah, what's interesting though, and I think you're right, you can't just constantly tell jokes. There has to be something in between. You wove a real serious narrative underneath it that really held it all together and gave it a gravitas that is probably necessary for all humor, but also for all really great philosophical points to make.
Yeah.
Tell us about the philosophical points you were making in this.
Well, the point we're trying to make is not dissimilar to what the real docs that inspired it are trying to make. Obviously, the justice system labels people in the same way that we see the high school labels people like Dylan. But one thing that I enjoyed about the reception of the show is that people weren't expecting any commentary like that going into this. I mean, once they saw the trailer, some people didn't think it was a real show. Yeah. Some people thought this is a 3-minute dick sketch. It's a good one, but that's it. And so they weren't expecting anything beyond that. But like when you watch the show, hopefully, you're laughing at Dylan's dumb antics. Maybe you're making some judgments yourself. And then you grow to empathize with the kid and you realize he's kind of a victim of people who have labeled him, since his early teen years. So I think that you come for the dick joke and you maybe stay for the commentary.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But that's a serious point because even I felt like, boy, I recognize these characters from high school. I recognize the types and I recognize the feelings.
Do you remember what your dick drawers were?
We're going to get to that later. Serious issue for me, Dan. I mean, I'm telling you. So I really did appreciate that you did that, though, and talk about, there was one point where you had Peter, I think, say, I realized it's so much easier to suggest guilt than prove innocence. And I thought, wow, that's profound.
Yeah. Well, he actually goes through a transformation throughout the process where I think Peter probably believed that Dylan did it early on. When he first got the news that he got expelled, Peter, like all these kids, probably just assumes it was Dylan. It's not a judgment that's unique to the administration. It's something that we all make. And I think viewers probably make the assumption too, like, yeah, the kid draws dicks, he's an idiot stoner, and so we kind of all make those judgments.
Well, yeah, I mean, but there's kind of a reason for it. Jimmy did draw a lot of dicks. I mean, yeah.
Did.
You want to talk about that?
Ginny or Dylan?
Dylan. Oh, sorry, Dylan.
Dylan, yeah. Dylan did draw a lot of dicks. Yeah.
You never did?
In high school, I mean, I've drawn my fair share of dicks, but I would say the vast majority of the dicks that I've drawn were on set of American Vandal.
Is that right? Because, I have a serious question about this for all of you, okay? And I want you to go down the line and tell me.
Yeah.
I'm sure you all draw dicks, and I just want to know, balls with hair, without hair? What's your play? I mean, I
feel like typically I've been more of a hair guy.
Hair guy?
just because it makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
For realism over cartoons.
Camille?
Yeah.
I actually forgot the hairs when I made an Instagram post, and I got called out real hard for it. So I forgot the hairs. It was me. No.
Callum?
Yeah, I mean, there's hair, but I think it's like a buzz cut. Like it's a small amount of hair, but consistent.
Lou?
I prefer my hairs, my dick's hairless.
Hairless?
Don't prefer my hairs.
And your hair is dickless. Okay.
Yeah. I actually do like my hair dickless. Yeah, I do.
Okay. So guys, I want to hear actually, honestly, and start with Dylan. Tell me what was your first impression of the script when you first got it?
Well, they were so secretive about this whole thing. So I really had no idea what I was getting into until they offered me the role. And it was, you know, I had the audition process, I did all that, and I got a phone call from, you know, Dan, Tony, and a couple of the producers, and they explained the concept to me on the phone, and I was like, oh my God, this is hilarious. And then as they were explaining it, I was realizing, I'm like, oh, this guy that you're talking about that was convicted, is that me? I'm I'm the guy? They're like, yeah, you're the guy, man. And I remember I got all the scripts, and I read through them as fast as I could, and I found myself by script, I think it was like script 5. That was when I genuinely found myself, I caught myself really caring, and I was really confused. I was like, who drew the dicks? And then I just zoomed out a little bit, and I was like, do I care about this much? And I did, and I just read on a mission until I got to the very end.
And that completely sold you on the part.
Oh yeah, I was in when I heard the concept.
Yeah.
And I was even more in when they told me that I was the guy being accused, which I also didn't know. And then when I got all the scripts, I was just thrilled.
Yeah, I would be too. Camille?
It's funny, I actually didn't get all the scripts, so I didn't really know the basic concept of the show. My manager was like, it's a show about dicks. And I was like, okay, well, I can go one of 2 ways. But one of my audition scenes was my scene in episode 7 for the climax, and just working, right, okay. Just working on the scene for my audition, it was like, oh shit, this isn't just like a comedy, or they're not just going for the funny. The funny's coming from a real authenticity and a real groundedness, and it was very easy to find the Mackenzie character, because yeah, you know, it's someone that you went to high school with, you know, you know that girl, and there's a groundedness in it, and so it was. Ever since that audition, it was really fun, and I got to meet Dan and a couple of the guys. I was like, oh, I want to work with you. Please let this happen. And then I got the call. I was like, yay! And then I found out what the show was about, and I was like, oh, it's actually got some substance to it. It's not just a show about dicks. So hey,
A plus.
exactly, a plus. And it was really well developed and really awesome.
Callum?
Well, I was same situation. I auditioned for it, but I didn't know what the show was about. And we had a really talented casting director named Wendy O'Brien. And she said, I'm going to ask you a question, just respond and improvise some lines. And she asked me, lie about getting a hand job. And I was like, okay. So I was glad she asked me, because I have a lot of experience in lying about getting hand jobs. So I just talked about it, and we kind of went back and forth. And I didn't really know what the show was, so when we got the offer for it, I was kind of going in blind. And then again, when I heard what it was about, I was really excited. And the best thing was I heard Dan and the other Dan Lagana and Tony as well say that when we were approaching this, approach it like it's a drama. So approach every scene like you're doing it as a serious show, and that's where the comedy will come from. And I think that really helped the show a lot.
I think that's absolutely true. And because everybody did take it so seriously,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
really focused, there was no messing around. It was really an impressive thing that way. You guys stayed so in character. I'm going to get to Lou, and then I have another question about that for you.
Oh, yeah, it's funny, I'm actually the opposite of all of them. I read the entire script at a table read that I was asked to help out at. I had worked with one of the producers before, and he was like, we have this show, there's like over 100 parts, we haven't cast most of the young men, will you come and just read all of them? And so I was like, of course, and so I read like young nerdy teen, like overweight kid, like athlete, and so I got to read this entire thing, and I remember reading the last episode and just being like, what? This was supposed to be funny. You can't teach me. And then I remember the same person who had asked me to do the table read, while I was headed to the parking lot afterward, being like, wow, what a show. Ran up to me and was like, hey man, you did a great job. We're gonna try and get you in the show. And I remember being like, oh, what? And I thought they were gonna give me athlete number 1 or nerd kid number 3. And then they were like, we want you to be Dylan's best friend and hang out for most of the series. And I lost my mind because I was so excited to be a part of something that I already knew was going to be incredible.
And I remember seeing you at the table read, and I thought you were part of the show in some capacity because you were so funny.
Oh, stop.
It's true, I really did.
First day on set, he walks up to me and the 2 other Wayback Kids, and he's like, yo, I just got cast last week. What's up? I'm jumping right in.
I remember seeing Caleb at the first dinner we went to, and I was like, who's this Hollywood-looking guy? He's like, I'm Alex Trimboli. I'm like, you can't be Alex Trimboli. And they threw those braces on him, and it was gay.
I remember seeing you at the rap party afterward, because I'd only ever seen you with braces and Alex Trimboli. I was like, damn, okay.
I have to admit, he cleans up well.
He cleans up very well.
Dan, do you have a compliment for me as well?
Literally backstage, I've never seen, it's hard to rock the suit you're wearing right now, but you were rocking it.
The plum, though, the plum.
Well said.
Well, I remember you and Tony came out to me, and I remember Tony asking if I could grow zits. He's like, can you get zits? And I was like, yeah, really
I rubbed
easily.
pizza on my face.
Well, I was trying to avoid it.
You say he cleans up well, but he also doesn't clean well. You did not shower for a while, right?
Yeah, and I didn't wash my face or
Yeah.
I just let it happen.
That was your prep for the role?
Yeah, so that's the
Awesome.
real me, unfortunately.
So tell me, guys, did you know characters like you, or were you these characters in high school?
I wouldn't say I was Dylan. I was definitely, I was the class clown of my high school, but I don't think I crossed lines the way Dylan did. But I did know kids like Dylan. So like Camille said, it was really easy to find a character like that when it's someone that either you knew or you've just seen in so many different situations.
I think we all feel like we've known those types. You guys too?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I was nothing like Mackenzie in high school, but I definitely knew those girls.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I wasn't like Alex, but I'm sure I'll get Facebook messages saying.
You're exactly like that?
Yeah, I mean, there were kids in high school that I knew that were just like this guy, and I might have been one of them. I don't know, but I think it's a relatable character.
Yeah.
I think one of the hardest things is what you guys did to play real people. In this show, you're playing not actors. You're supposed to be acting as messy as people do in these documentaries. When they get interviewed, they stumble and they bumble and they don't look straight at the camera and they don't find their angle. That's hard to do without shredding the scenery because it's so easy to tip over into parody, but you didn't. How'd you manage?
I think, director, writers, producers, they all did a great job of setting everything up to look that way. And, they had just the way they shot everything, they were purposely missing things. They were purposely getting things in the background. I mean, just the way it was shot and the way it was all planned out was just so brilliant. And I think what also helped was the way they used improv to kind of get some realness out of it. I would go into scenes and Tyler would do a great job of just having a list of questions ready, and he would just interview me, and they would just be like, you're in character.
Yeah.
And you answer them to the best of your abilities. There's some things you don't know, and you just keep rolling with it. You're like, I don't know. What did Alex say? I don't know. What did he say about that? And Tyler would answer in character, and I don't know. It was just a really easy environment they just created a really easy environment for us to work in.
So the way they set it up helped, for sure. I'm just very impressed by it. How much improv was there? Caleb?
I mean, there was a really amazing script that we're working off of, so any improv was just coming out of that organically. The interviews were interesting because they went on for a long time. They were probably 30-minute interviews for every take, and they even filmed us walking in and sitting down and and getting our mic put on. And I think that was really helpful because you didn't really have to think about the comedy. You're just in the character, and it was kind of a method experience, which is really funny and interesting for a show about dicks. But
Yeah.
but it's true, you were kind of just had to be like in character, and you also gave us a little booklet about what our characters knew and what we saw at different points of the story. And that was really helpful because rather than just memorizing the lines, you had to really memorize where the character was at that point and what all the other characters knew as well.
Yeah. Lou?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely it was so incredible to be given the room to just play because at least on the Way Back Boys part, I mean, I remember they had taken this house and like built a living room that was like that was our hangout space, and they would set the cameras up. And I remember there was one day they set the cameras up, they then closed the door so that we had no sense of like the production or any of those things, and then just asked us to hang out, smoke fake weed, and shoot each other with Nerf guns.
Oh,
And
wait, so it was fake. You guys smoke more weed than I've seen in my life.
Yeah, I mean, we now know what, I don't know, whatever that mixture is, I know the taste of it and the smell of it so well.
Sage.
Yeah, so much sage. But yeah, I mean, there was so much room to just live and breathe in these characters, and so as soon as you took that out of kind of that play space and put it in an interview or put it in an interaction with Tyler or Peter, it was so easy and fluid to just kind of be, and I think that's what you see on screen.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, bravo to Wendy. Honestly, Wendy O'Brien's so fabulous. I think she really brought people in that maybe weren't their characters, but they had something to bring to the table in an organic way and with authenticity. And I think that between all of us meeting each other off camera and finding that camaraderie, it was so effortless and easy to, get the take and then say, all right, now why don't you guys just improv or like go with it, and then they'd have to stop us because we're on such a roll, we're having so much fun, and I think the organic realness came from that.
And I
They
can
did
see
so
it.
many-
Yeah.
They did so many little things like that where they would, like Lou said, like where you would just be confused and you're not sure if they're even filming. Remember there was one time where they put me in Dylan's room and they're like, all right, hold on. And I was like, oh, all right. And there was just a camera woman in there just filming me. And I was just kind of confused, like, are we rolling? Are we rolling right now? Yeah. And then no one said anything, so I just kind of started just chilling. I was like lied back on the bed and just was hanging out. And then I realized, and they're like, all right, cut, that was great. That was great. All right.
It worked.
Cool. They would like have people get in arguments off camera. There was one time we're doing a take, and all of a sudden we hear people arguing in the kitchen. We're like we're in the middle of a take, It's like looking over, and then they're like, all right, that was great. Yeah, it was a great reaction.
It was a real reaction.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys had so much creative freedom then, but I can really see the way you all have amazingly melded and interact with each other so naturally. I mean, right here, so easy. I mean, that had to come from an awful lot of work together because you didn't know each other before.
All the lunch sessions.
All the lunch sessions.
It happened pretty quickly though, because we pretty much dove in. Like one of the first scenes, you think your first scene was?
My first scene.
Her first scene was the breakup, and she just came in crying take after take. I was like, this is incredible.
I'm just gonna break up with your ass right now, really quickly. And Tony was like, yeah, you don't really care. It's gonna be awesome. Like, you're just like, just get it over with. And we do it a couple times, and Tony's like, okay, no, that's not what we're really looking for. I was like, you know what, Tony, give me a second. I'm just gonna get a little emotionally prepped because I think it's maybe a little more of a bigger deal for Mackenzie to break up with her longtime boyfriend, and then we went into it. And by the end of it, you and I are like, oh fuck.
It's like, whew, I got
I
home
feel
that
like
day.
I
I was
just
like, that was
broke up
heavy.
with somebody. That hurt.
Yeah, that hurt. So you get invested in your character. Kaylin, did you at any time feel bad for lying about seeing Dylan, painting the dicks?
Well, you know what's funny is that Jimmy and I only had one scene together. Yeah. And that was actually one of the only times we were really on set at the same time because I was kind of isolated as a character. So now I know him. I do feel bad. At the moment, though, I didn't know the guys. So it's fine.
Probably.
What made you do it? Why did you lie? Why?
I know but he's that kind of kid. And I think one of the things that was interesting is we also shot in a high school that actually had kids going to school at the same time. So at some points you could like wait around on a break and and actually see kids having a conversation. And I saw kids that were kind of like Alex, just trying to have conversations. And I was like, okay, I gotta, like, that kind of gives you a bit of inspiration. And it,
Taking notes on me right now?
it's true.
Well, I think he saw something, and like most kids, if they have a little thing, they're like, okay, maybe I can exaggerate and make this a cooler thing. So I think that's what Alex was doing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what about Sarah Pearson? I mean, true or not true?
There's an answer to this question. But
You'll never
it's
know.
more of like the reception, you can ask us question. I don't know if it's like
I can't, okay.
it's very graphic.
She'd have to be here.
I mean, I have to know, so I'm gonna get the truth out of you one way or another.
You could, actually.
Multiple
You could.
drinks, if
Yeah.
that's what it takes. Lou, how weird was it to, create these wonderful art pieces like nuns humping trees?
Guys, I'm pulling from a lot of real life experience, and just kind of the way I interact with nuns and trees to create. No, I remember we humped trees for so goddamn long, Dan. You made us hump trees for so long. Because they wanted to do all these things with like people like looking at us, watching us hump these trees. And so they just kept rolling and be like, all right, send the extras back. Can we have them walk again? So much humping of trees. So I'm glad you all enjoyed it.
I gotta say, it felt a little out of body, a little surreal to me.
Hey, guys, when there's a spiritual moment that comes with wearing a habit and humping a tree, I hope that all of you get to enjoy at some point in your life.
Well, speaking of that, I loved when Dylan did the face plant into the bread facing.
Yes.
Who knew that was a thing?
Yeah,
How did it
it's
feel?
a thing. And honestly, look into it. It's weird. It's very weird. And there's people who are really into it,
Yeah.
Like there's bread
Are they
facers
serious?
with thousands, hundreds of thousands of followers just for being bread facers. It's a
I'm
real
gonna go home
thing.
and try it. I'm gonna buy some Wonder Bread. So you had actually a really serious arc to me. You started out, your character started out as, wanting to be exonerated and therefore taking part in the documentary. But at the end of it, you did get exonerated, but it didn't quite turn out the way you expected. In that party at the very end, celebratory party, you were watching it and you were getting exonerated, but it didn't feel that great. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I think it was just that moment where he's watching that documentary, he's on this hype, he's the happiest he's been the whole season. He's just been exonerated, and he's watching this documentary expecting everyone to finally understand him and to finally see him as what he's known that he's been this entire time. And I think that, in watching that documentary and just kind of hearing all of his classmates speak about him in such a negative way, I think that really gets to a kid. And just knowing that even though I just went through all of this to prove that I didn't do what everyone thought I did, everyone still sees me as this guy, it's hard to convince yourself that you're not that guy at that point.
It was I have to tell you, it was a moving and very poignant moment that you beautifully played, all of you, and didn't overplay, which could have been very easy to do. You're sitting on the couch and everybody's laughing and joking and making fun of you as they're watching the documentary. And I just watched it settle on your face, the realization, this is what people think of me. And it's a painful high school moment, but it's a painful life moment that, to go through. And kudos to all of you guys, man. What an amazing job, because you did it so beautifully, because you delivered it with such beautiful, amazing, in the pocket, not shredding, fantastic. You made the experience amazing. So can't tell you how impressed I am.
Thank you.
So Dan, I have a very serious question for you. Pat Micklethwait got invited to Nana's party, and he's a nerd times 1,000, and yet he's got on every girl's pickup list. He's had probably multiple hand jobs.
Yeah, several.
Yeah. So the burning question on Peter's mind, all of our minds, I'm sure. What's his it factor? I mean, how?
If we defined it, if I could tell you what it is, I would have it. I don't. It's something that can't be very easily defined. And I think it's that mystery that really drives him. But yeah, I hope that kid because of the show, becomes Pat Micklethwait. Like, I'm sure he's going to college next year. I want everyone to say, like, you know, I got with Pat Micklethwait. And I think that, like, that's my goal for that character, is that he just becomes that person.
I think we should write like an ode to all the Pat Micklethwaits of the world.
Yeah. There's a lot of
Start a website for him. Okay, so one spoiler, and if you haven't gotten to the end of this series, put your hands over your ears. I just have to know, please tell me, do not tease me, what did the coach say to Krista when she was trying out to be kicker on the football team?
Ooh, that's a good question.
That's a good one.
It's a good question. I don't know if I'm going to answer, but that is it wasn't good. It wasn't good. He
We
said
guessed
something
that.
that crossed the line. We know what he said, but it just shouldn't have been said to her. That was also graphic. That's also a reception thing that, like.
We're loading up on the reception thing. Okay, all right, fine. I mean, I'm not going to try and cross-examine tonight. They told me I couldn't. Not, and it's not easy. Now, seriously, though, you made a choice to have kind of an ambiguous ending. And I really did think, I appreciated it, because I like that kind of unexpected, especially for this kind of thing. You know, most of the time they like to button it with some kind of real definitive ending in terms of who done it. You didn't. You went for the ambiguity, which I really took, can I say balls? I think I have to. Took balls.
Yep.
And I think it was really fabulous. I want to know what made you make that decision? How did you decide to do that?
Well, you know, I think we think the answer is a little more definitive than, I mean, that is a huge question people keep asking, is who drew the dicks? And we didn't want to give like 100% true, like, this is definitely the person, because Peter did not quite have all the evidence he'd need to make that definitive statement. And if he makes a statement like that, he's no better than the administration that condemned Dylan before they had everything they needed to do so. But on the other hand, it's also a story about Dylan, and regardless of who drew the dicks, the kid was unfairly labeled to the point that he essentially became what people categorized him to be. So we didn't want the finale to just depend on the question, who drew the dicks? It's still Dylan's story regardless, and so we really wanted to focus on that for the finale.
And you did. So do you get a lot of people asking you, like, you know, who really did it? Who's the culprit?
Oh, yeah.
It's more of a yell.
Do you answer them?
Who drew the dicks?
From across the street.
Do you? I mean, I have my theory. I'm not going to tell.
What's your theory?
Krista.
Okay.
Yeah.
Krista and her boyfriend. That's my guess.
Yes, good answer.
I got it?
That
It's
might
my
be
same theory.
right. That might
Is this
be
my Sherlock moment?
Exactly.
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
you're good at what you do.
With dicks, anyway. You take it any way you want. Anyway. So I thought this series was going to be a one-off, and I was really depressed. And then I heard we have a season 2.
Yes, we
Can
do.
you tell us what to expect?
My mom's not a fan. She thinks it's gross. So I don't want to say exactly what it is, but first of all, it was. You know, first of all, my mother is a Catholic school principal. We are going to a Catholic school in season 2.
Oh,
so
great. Oh, my God.
A little worried about premiere night with how that's going to go over, but yeah, it's a new state. It's a new crime. Unfortunately, as much as I love these guys, we have a new cast of characters and suspects and all that.
Wait, what?
I'm so sorry. I still love you. But we're in the Northwest. I think we can say that we're shooting in Portland for Washington, and it's a totally new crime, new journey for Peter and Sam. But Peter and Sam are still our documentarians and are into that world.
That's fabulous. I
Yeah.
cannot wait. When's the premiere?
We're looking at fall, definitely fall. We don't have a release date yet, but I think similarly, I think this was September 15th. That kind of window, I think, is what we're looking at.
I'm so excited. I can't wait. You know, I'm going to binge the hell out of it repeatedly, like I did with American Vandal. You guys, fabulous job. I can't tell you how much. You know, and it's because of your excellent work, all of you, that we found out we do not need a gruesome murder to get riveted by a case. So thank you.
go.
Thank you so much. And now, you guys, any questions from the audience? Yep.
All right. First off, I was a huge fan of the show. Jimmy, I've been a fan of yours for a long time.
Thank you.
I'm surprised to hear that the show wasn't written for you. 'Cause it's a perfect show's a perfect vehicle for the character you've built from the TFM days. My question is, was the 9-year-old Dylan videos, were those 9-year-old Jimmy Tatro videos?
9-year-old, yes. So basically, all the Wayback Boys YouTube channel stuff was part of the show. There was a point when they asked me if they could have access to some of my older home videos, and also asked if maybe I had any videos of myself as a kid, acting like an idiot, maybe skateboarding, and I was like, lucky for you, that's exactly what I did my whole childhood. So I gave him those videos, and now my, embarrassing childhood videos are on Netflix.
They struck gold.
Up there. Somebody's waving up there.
Oh. I have a question. What made you choose dicks? Of all the things out there like butt cracks and boobs, why did you choose dicks?
Butt cracks.
Give me some good season 3 ideas.
Yeah, it's too many ideas.
Well, all right. I mean, literally how we came up with the idea, I was doing laundry at the time, watching Making a Murderer in the background, and we had the idea to do this, and I came to Tony, I'm like, hey, we gotta do this low stakes crime, something that does not deserve 4 hours of our time. And he said dicks, and that was it. I mean, I think we've all had a dick drawer in our high school. I think that's probably the most common prank. I don't know if you guys agree, but there was always a dick drawn on the whiteboard in algebra. There was everyone had that. So I think it was the most relatable. I think that's why we picked that one. Yeah.
I'm
Hi.
still laughing.
Besides everything else that's been said tonight, I love the music for the
yeah, it's
series.
great.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about how that came about and anything that you might think was interesting? Thanks.
Yes, his name is Darian Schulman. He is excellent. Tony and I worked with him on our short films before Vandal. We did a lot of genre parody with him, whether it be mockumentaries or a Batman movie parody. He could figure out the tone and the vibe of everything we were satirizing and just nail the music 100%. So to us, he was an obvious choice for Vandal season 1, and he's back for season 2. But I can't say enough about him. He really established the tone of a true crime documentary. And also, when you get a chance, the finale credits music is beautiful. So I know it does skip, and it's hard to hear that one, but he was just incredible throughout. And yeah, I'm super glad that we have him.
Yeah, he was great. That was wonderful. Over here.
Did you use doc editors or comedy editors?
We used a mix of both. So we looked for people with experience in both. Luckily, we got some great people with doc experience. And actually, that extends not just to our editors, but also our cinematographer, shot Amanda Knox. And so we actually specifically went out for people who had a real feel for that kind of thing. Documentary experience is almost more important to us than comedy experience. We want this to feel more like a doc than it does a comedy.
Up behind.
Can you draw one of your famous dicks?
Yeah. Where's the Sharpie and the whiteboard?
Yeah, give me if I had some materials, I could make it happen.
Maybe a human. No.
We have down here.
Yeah, well, first of all, excellent work, guys. You should be very proud of yourselves. It's such an amazing show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But my question is simple. Dylan's hat. I need to know what that means. Written on his hat.
What was written on your hat?
What's written on the hat?
The carrot thing?
It was some foreign language, and I'm sure it's some secret to the show. But I need to know what it means.
Ooh.
The green one, maybe.
Was the green one? I don't know. I wish.
A lot of it was carrot, right?
A lot of it was carrot. There was 3 brands.
That were your style. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know,
There
I
was
pay
no
attention
subliminal
to
Sure,
that,
it's
so
something
I
better
missed
for
that
you.
one too.
Hey guys, that was awesome. My buddy told me how great it was, and this is the first time I'm seeing the 2 episodes, so that was great. My question, I guess, is for all of your real lives when you went to high school. It's common that the seniors do a prank for the school. Ours was putting forks in the football field, and then filling our teachers' rooms with bouncy balls. But I was just curious if you guys, when you guys went to high school, if you guys did any senior pranks or anything like that.
Yes.
Yeah, we had a good one.
Yeah, you go first.
Ours was, I actually am the one who got in all the trouble for it. Ironically. Yeah, we locked all of our phones in the lockers, set all of our alarms for the same time, and at 10 a.m., the hallways just erupted in phone alarms. And then they ended up going around with a master key, unlocking all the lockers, getting all the phones, and then we just heard, Jimmy Tatro, please report to the principal's office. There it is.
On one person.
Yeah, well, I set up the Facebook group.
That's it.
Maybe don't set up a Facebook group for your senior prank.
Yeah, my class, it was like, I want to say like 15 kids. I wasn't one of them. But I remember I walked into the library and they set alarms all throughout the entire library that were going off throughout the day. And the librarians were like, oh, I gotta go turn it off. But they put cups of water, like thousands of cups of water by every entrance. So nobody could walk into the library or walk out of the library without spilling just so much water. And so it was just off limits the whole day.
That's actually the initial source of the California drought.
Ready for one last? Yep.
Yeah, has anybody done any history on the research of the drawing of dicks? Does it go back to ancient hieroglyphs?
That would be dope.
Season 3.
Yeah, that's season 3.
I think it does. I don't think they covered a lot in the hieroglyphics. So, yeah, I think it's an ancient art form. It's probably the oldest art form we have. Egyptians didn't do ball hairs, though.
How do you know? Anyway, sorry. Yep, down here.
I noticed something for the first time, and I wonder if Dan maybe would know. When they're showing the license plates of the cars, one of the first cars, it had on the license plate F-A-N. Oh, it's a word, fan. And then I noticed the next one, it's P-P-P, and then the next one's G, G-E-E. And I wondered if you had a subliminal message or something for us.
I don't think we did, but what I will say about that is, like, this is my favorite reaction to the show, is that people get so into conspiracy theories about it. Like, you know, people think that Ming conspired with the janitor to draw the dicks, and the fan theories are just the best. Another thing that was totally unintentional, but I shouldn't say this, it's a spoiler. But like, basically, there was a ton of that out there on Reddit and the other sites. So we just love all the fan theories, and stuff like that is just really fun for us.
All right, I think we're going to wrap it up. I've been getting the high sign over here. Thank you very much for coming tonight. Thank you guys. Awesome job. Thank you.